Welcome to today's podcast, Healing Through Love, with Dr. Matt Singer, a holistic medicine specialist with an expertise in energy work, homeopathy, and works with people all around the world to help them remove emotions trapped in the body. And co-host Holly Celiano, a mother, intuitive healer, and well known to international audiences as a resource for truth seekers on a variety of global concerns that are currently impacting humanity. Today's focus: how to raise your vibration with love.
Hello, everybody. I am Holly Celiano, and I am here with Dr. Matt Singer. And we are today talking about how to raise your vibration through love. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Holly. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Thank you. So let's talk about vibration, because that word is talked about a lot. We need to raise our vibration. How do we raise our vibration?
Well, when people ask me how do we raise our vibration, the first way we raise our vibration, there's like a formula. You act on your highest joy in whatever you're doing. The first thing is you're not compromising your joy. You're not doing something you don't want to do. You're acting on your highest joy in whatever you're doing. You're taking that thing you're doing as far as you can take it. Meaning, you don't just go after it a little bit, or you don't just kind of dip your feet into it. If something is bringing you excitement and joy, you go after it all the way. You take it as far as the universe will let you take it, because the universe will open up all these other pathways for you. So you follow your joy, you take something as far as you can take it, and you let go of the outcome. So when you're doing that, you're raising your vibration. The easiest way to lower your vibration is to get stuck in a belief that you have to do something you don't want to do, right?
And that is one of the key things, is we are so stuck in a belief system, and the belief systems keeps you trapped in thinking and believing in a reality, in a world based on that reality of your belief system. And
Yes.
It's really dissolving beliefs, not having an attachment to any belief system, letting go of feelings, emotions, and just being trapped in those emotions keeps you stuck in a lower vibrational state, especially if they are negative emotions.
Correct. So, and let's talk about that. When we feel stuck, there's a couple components that are actually feeling stuck, because we have our physical self, which we would call the ego, or the physical part of us, and then we have our higher self, like our God self, our soul. And the higher self always knows our perfection. It always knows that everything is always okay. It always knows life always works out for us. It always knows that we're love. The ego, or the physical part of us, doesn't. It needs to physically see it. So if it gets stuck in a lower vibration of it saw something it didn't like, and it thinks that that's reality, and it says, well, I tried this and it didn't work, and now it creates a belief that if I do this, it's not going to work. That then creates a very low and negative vibration. And anytime that situation occurs, it's going to cause them to knee jerk into that low vibration. And then they're going to start acting, thinking, and believing congruent to that low vibration.
And that's the world that they create,
Yes.
Which keeps coming back to them. We've heard that law of attraction. What you think is what you create. But in order to really have that law of attraction, if you can put out all the positive thoughts that you want, but if you still innately have a very low emotions that are fueling that, it almost counterproducts that positive vibration, because in your cells, you're countering whatever you're putting out, because your vibration internally is going against that, right?
It's so true. So in my office, I know you know the kind of work I do. When I start with a patient, the first thing I'll ask them is, I'll say, and you've probably heard me say this, I'll say, who's the most amazing person in the world? And then they'll say me. And then you can do a muscle test. You can have their arm out, and you can test the strength of their arm. If every cell in their body believes that, their arm will stay strong. So I'll test them and say, okay. And then I'll ask their body, I say, I'm the most important person in the world. And half the time the arm goes down. So there's, like you're saying, they're saying it, but they're not believing it. They're not owning that they're the most amazing person in the world based off of past beliefs that they were taught, either by observing their ancestors or parents or siblings or other teachers or whatever, just living a life of not thinking that works out for them and believing these false beliefs. And then living every day thinking life doesn't work out for them, creating this negative, low vibration. And then when I say to them, who's the most amazing person in the world? They say me. And then I ask their body, is that true? And it says no. And then they wonder why they get sick.
Right. Or
right?
why life isn't happening the way that they want.
Absolutely.
You can think all you want, positive thoughts, but if your emotional body is saying the opposite internally, you're never going to get the results that you want.
Yes. So that's where I found the most important thing to change that, to get out of that low vibrational state. The first step is just to recognize that we're in it. Because that's the hardest thing sometimes, is to recognize that we're in that low state.
And the saying, to see is to be set free. So when you recognize it, when you see it, then you can see the truth of how you are in the state you are.
Yes. Because once we can see it, now we're showing the ego that we're willing to change, because either we like what we see or we don't like what we see. And either way,
most people have a really hard time of seeing the truth, because
yes,
that will bring down the house of cards that has built your entire life and reality. And people are afraid to have that topple down, because then what do they cling to? What is reality? What is their life? How do they make sense of it?
Yeah, I love it. I love what you just said, because the ego holds so strong onto a belief, even if it doesn't serve us. And then if we start threatening the ego that we're going to change, it will sink its feet into the sand so deep and say, I don't want to change because I've created an identity. Even if it's not a positive identity, it creates an identity. I'm not good enough. But why are you creating that identity? Because I'm familiar with it. And if I can stay familiar, at least I can stay alive. Because what if I really dig deep and I investigate and I come to find out I'm really not that good? What if it's true? Then I'm worthless, and then I don't want to live anymore. So that's what it's afraid of. But then the heart, the soul would say, that's impossible. That will never be true, because no one is setting these standards for you except you. So you're the one who decides that you are good enough or that your life is amazing.
And the most difficult thing for us as a human being, we have to face ourselves. And that is the hardest thing, to face ourselves and recognize we have, dark and light within us. We have good and evil. We have all these thoughts, feelings, emotions. It's really bringing all of them into balance and merging them. And that is a very difficult thing for people, because I see a lot of people are very polarized, either in the negative or polarized what they think, quote unquote, being in the light. And both of those are traps. And it's coming in balance to bring both the dark and the light within to balance. And people I know will have a hard time with me saying that, because they think you shouldn't be integrating that. You want to be all just of the light. You don't want to have any dark, but we live in a world that is of duality. We have to merge them together.
Correct. Now, so let's go a little deeper on that, about merging the light and the dark, because I agree with you, because when we can see the dark, we could know who we're not.
Exactly.
Right?
And people don't want to look at that we even have dark in us, but we all do.
Yes.
You can't deny what's there. It's embracing it and merging it.
Correct. And we all know some people who have done amazing things in their life, have helped humanity, and they started out where they say, I was living in the dark night of the soul. I was living in darkness, in living as a gang member, or living as, someone that they took their past life, they saw the darkness and they turned it around. But the only way they were able to turn it around was to recognize that darkness didn't serve them. And that's where it becomes a blessing on both ends.
Absolutely. And for myself, I've had some very dark moments in my life, but those actually, I've gone into them and looked at them and faced them head on, because they can be fearful.
Yes.
When you have those feelings, thoughts, emotions, people automatically want to run and avoid them instead of facing them head on. But when you do, you set yourself free, because you're seeing the truth of who you really are, how your life was created by believing certain beliefs, by having certain emotions. And that truly sets you free when you do go into that dark night of the soul.
Yeah, absolutely. In the book Conversations with God, it talks about exactly that when we can look at the darkness head on, we can see the illusion. When we can see the illusion, this fear that it was creating, that it was just an illusion, when we can see the illusion, we can then dissolve it back into the light, back into the blessing of why we brought it on.
Absolutely. And, it's all an illusion that we create. Everything that we believe is really an illusion that we created in our mind that we believe. But there's another side of that illusion that sets you free.
Yes.
When you topple down that house of cards that you built.
Correct. Which I've heard lots of great speakers, especially Wayne Dyer, say exactly that, is that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. You have a whole nother perspective of life and the world by looking at those things.
Absolutely. But what's so amazing is, even for myself, I've realized I've gotten stuck looking at things the wrong way for years. And then when you finally break down the illusion, you think to yourself, this is the greatest day of my life. I finally became a new version of myself, but it took years to break down that illusion because I was living somebody else's belief. People taught me, you got to work really hard to have any kind of success, or, who are you to have this greatness? All these false beliefs, you finally, when you look at the illusion, it all starts to dissolve, and you realize that now I can change my belief system. By doing that, I'm changing creation within myself.
Absolutely. And then your entire world changes when you be the change you want to be in the world, because it starts with yourself. Then your world changes. So let's give some listeners some steps on how to recognize that if they have no clue that they're even living this fake illusion self, how to recognize the truth of yourself first and foremost, how to raise your vibration, and then what are the steps to break down to get through to the other side and do an integration.
Perfect. So the first step for anybody listening is to first take inventory on your current life. Find the things in your life that you like, that you don't like. If you're living a life that's more displeasing to you and stressful, then if you find yourself wishing your life was different more than loving the life you're living, that's the first step to recognize that, okay, I'm living this lower vibration because I'm just either afraid of making a change or was taught that I can't change, that I'm stuck. The first step is just take inventory on your life and the feeling behind it. How does it make me feel? Do I love it? Am I stressed? Do I wake up every day dreading it? That's the first step.
Okay? Right.
The second step is, once we realize the things that don't serve us, then we want to go to the opposite and say, okay, if I was living my highest joy and my greatest good and highest joy, what does that look like? Then they're going to paint the picture of what it does look like. They know what they don't like because they're currently living that. Well, what do you want it to look like? So that's where they would start, journaling, writing, go on to PowerPoint and make a vision board of what they want it to look like, right? And then start living that life, start becoming that new version of you who's already living that life.
So that's what I do when I do emotional clearing work for people. I have them journal at the end of clearing the emotions of, what is your life like 1 week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Can you see how your life has changed? Well, if you can live that life 10 years from now, you can do that right now. Like, you don't have to wait 10 years. You can see it, be it, bring it into the here and now. And past, present, future timelines all exist simultaneous. Everybody thinks, I have to wait for something. No, if you can think something in the future or a future self of how you want to be, you can incorporate that right now into your life and live that life from that moment. And that's where you make a dramatic shift in changing your reality.
Yes. It's so, that's the greatest law of the universe I ever learned, is that everything already exists here and now.
It does.
Right? So that new version that we see already exists. Right? And then what have we said so many times? Was we can't see that new version until our vibration matches that new vibration of the new version that we're creating.
Correct.
Right?
That is so powerful.
Yes.
Because there is a vibrational match for what you want, but you need to match that vibration by doing the inner work. And the only way is to go within and make those necessary changes within your being. It's nothing outside yourself. There's no woo-woo magic outside you that's going to make it get there any quicker. You have to do it internally. Yes.
Okay, so let me throw some questions out at you. This is going to help for the listeners. Here's the first scenario. Someone is living a life that's creating a lower vibration because they're stuck in a marriage that they feel like they can't get out of, either because of their religion, they don't believe in divorce, or they feel stuck because the one spouse makes financially has the wherewithal, and they feel like, well, if I leave, then I'm not going to have any financial backing, or their parents are forcing them to stay in the marriage. Whatever reason, someone's in a relationship that is causing them every day to be in a lower vibration. What would you say to that person?
Well, I can say I lived that. That was me. And it was financially, I thought, I'm stuck. I have to stay here. I have 3 kids. Where am I going? But I did a really hard look inventory, and life smacked me hard with having breast cancer. So it was a wake up call for me. And I looked at life and said, I'm either going to stay with this person and die, or I'm just going to just leave and just trust and have faith that I will be taken care of, and faced all my fears head on. And that's exactly what happened. I walked away and just said, I can't do this anymore.
So at the moment, let me ask this. So at the moment that you faced your fears, the moment you took that hard inventory, did you feel your vibration raising?
Not instantly. I had to do a lot of work because I was pretty beaten down emotionally, and had to do a lot of work to shift that vibration. But the first step was for me to recognize, this is not good for me. This is not my path. This is not where I want to be. And I just did it. And I'm not even remotely the same person I was back then.
Correct. So what when you knew it was changing, when you knew you were becoming a different version of yourself, what was the strongest feeling that was resonating? Was it empowerment? Was it self-love? Like how could you describe it? What was the biggest change?
I would say for me, the biggest change initially was just I did a complete inventory of my life, like a life review of all the things that I felt and thought kept me trapped in that state of being paralyzed in my life. So when I first did an inventory, okay, well, because of this choice, it's made me this. I didn't get the self-empowerment right away. That came in a little bit later as I worked on these negative emotions of being beaten down emotionally. And the self-love didn't come in until really maybe just a couple of years ago. That was a big one for me to love myself because it felt selfish. It felt like I'm not supposed to love myself. If I do, I'm being a narcissist.
Mm-hmm. So that's a perfect example of how that's a learned belief from somebody else. So then I would ask you, who taught you that? Who taught you that false
All
belief?
the narcissists around me.
There we go. So how awesome is that? So then I would ask you, when you look back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you're a completely different person. So
Yeah.
if the version of you right now in a meditation went back to the version of you back then, what would you say to that you back then?
I would just tell that you just do it. Just take that leap of faith and trust and know that if you're being given this opportunity to face your deepest fears within, just go for it and you will be protected. Like everything shows up in our life that we need at that exact moment. And it's just taking each day, walking in faith and knowing we will be taken care of. Even if you have some really bad, awful days, which I did, you're not going to stay there forever. You have to just go through that and it's okay.
Yes. So you moved into your highest joy by knowing it wasn't right for you. You took the leap of faith. You took action, right?
Yes.
You took it to the farthest. You didn't stop. You didn't say, I have an idea of doing it, but then didn't do it. You took it as far as you could take it. And now you see where it brought you. So that's the formula. You had this idea, you followed it, you took it as far as you could take it, and you let go of the outcome. You just trusted that everything would work out. Even when right away we didn't have the answer right away, you just had this faith that it was going to work out. You couldn't explain how, you just had this faith. So that becomes the formula of how we raise our vibration.
And when I was going through it, I didn't even know where my life would be, how it would look. I had no preconceived notion, but I just knew I couldn't stay where I was. Correct. I knew I had to just get out of it and move forward. And miraculously, people and situations and things show up in my life out of the blue. It's amazing. Like that is truly living a faith walked life where you just know I'm to do this and you do it and the right people, circumstances, everything shows up.
Yes. So now I'm going to challenge you here. You ready?
Okay.
So we know that we're the creators of our reality, right?
Yes.
And there's never a time where that's not true, correct?
Correct.
So when we feel like things happen out of the blue, what's really happening?
We're creating that.
Yeah. Yes. We're creating it. And what is the thing that's actually drawing those things into your life? It's the what?
It's my vibration.
There
my
you go.
Vibration is matching then
Absolutely.
The people.
So that means that those people in your life already existed. But when we were at the lower vibration, we just couldn't see them. Now you raise your vibration and now you're in a whole new paradigm. You're literally a new version of yourself. We look the same house, this and that, but now we're a new version of ourselves and now we can see these new people that we couldn't see before.
Right. And a lot of people will notice when they start shifting and raising their vibration, people, friends, even relationships might fall by the wayside. They might just leave you out of your life because you're not a vibrational match for them anymore. There's a mismatch. And you just notice people are just leaving your life, but then new people show up that are of a higher vibration that match you where you're at.
Absolutely. And I've read a lot of great books on that specific phenomenon, where it explains those people are waiting for us within our life, almost like a guardian angel waits for us. And all we have to do is, once we raise our vibration, now we're matching their high frequency. So they've always been there, just waiting for us to catch up with our highest self. It's an amazing thing.
It is amazing. And I have people just, find me just out of the blue, and they're a higher vibrational match. But the vibration, it's almost like you're out there floating around, and then you recognize each other. Like there's a vibrational signature that we have that they find us.
Correct. That's exactly right. We're tuning our frequency to match their frequency.
Right. So and then that goes back to, if people want, love or abundance or a better job, it's tuning your vibrational frequency to match that vibrational frequency of what it is you want.
Yes. So let's just talk about that topic of abundance real quick. I love Joe Dispenza has a really good, he's got a really good protocol he teaches for abundance and vibration. So he says, when we want to manifest something, we're going to have two components. We're going to have a clear intention of what it is that we desire and an elevated emotion. So when you have the clear intention, so if somebody has an idea where they want to bring in abundance, it doesn't always have to be in the form of money. It's just in a form of doing the thing they want to do. So let's say they want to take a trip, or they want to have financial freedom. It doesn't always have to come one way. The universe always says yes. So if our ego says, well, I need $10 million, the universe says, okay, but the $10 million, what is it going to bring you? It's going to bring me the ability to move out of the house that I'm living in, move to this place, set up this business and this and this. Universe says, okay, but that's not actually your highest joy. That's not actually the path you want to take. Your higher self doesn't want to go that way. We're still going to get you there, but it's not going to happen the way you want it to. So what he says is, when you have a clear intention, you're going to match that with an elevated emotion. You're not going to match that with how it's going to happen. You're going to match it with just a clear intention with an elevated emotion. So if your intention is a new job, he says you're going to visualize like the letter J for job. And you're going to put two circles around the letter J, which represent the electromagnetic field of the quantum field. And then you're going to write a couple of reasons why you want that new job. Why is the reason why? And then next to it, you're going to have the elevated emotion. What are the feelings of the new job? Is it going to be a love for life? Is it going to be empowerment? Is it going to be joy? Is it going to be this feeling of just wanting to give so much out of your abundance? And then once you have that established, then you just surrender. You don't figure out the details, you surrender. And then he says, you just watch it come to you.
And that is the key, surrendering, because we try to manipulate all aspects of it, of how we want it to come in. And that's the trap. You've got to just surrender and just allow it to come to you.
And I'm sure, I felt this also. When I try and manipulate it, I feel like things slow down. I could definitely feel my vibration slowing down. When I try to figure it out or force it or say it's got to happen this way, I feel like everything slows down.
It does.
Right?
Absolutely. And that again is, faith, being able to surrender.
Yes.
To let go of control and just know it's going to show up for you in the right time and the exact way it's supposed to.
Yes.
And if things don't show up the way they're supposed to, then there's a lesson for us to gain that's going to propel us forward on our path of what we do want.
Absolutely. So, getting onto this other topic, have you seen in the last couple in the last year or so, like a paradigm shift, like a divide, a
There has
division?
been a massive divide in consciousness, and it's pretty prevalent ever since COVID happened. That really was a great awakening. It
Hmm.
was a separation of the way people thought. Either people went into absolute fear, which paralyzed them from
Hmm.
moving forward and trapped them in that lower state of being, or people saw it for, I can relate for me. For me, it was like, oh my God, I can stop all the insane craziness and this, wheel that I'm on and just be still and be quiet and go within and reflect and shift my consciousness to a higher way of being. So
Hmm.
there is that absolute paradigm shift. And the more time that keeps going on, it's becoming greater how much the mass consciousness has shifted and divided.
Yes, absolutely. What's interesting is when we talk about the energy of fear, um, there's a lot of books that actually measure the energy of fear, and it's amazing what it does to every cell in the body. I'm talking about like millivolts or the strength of a cell. It brings a millivolt of a cell from 90 millivolts all the way down to 50 or 40 millivolts. And once something gets below 20, that's where a cell becomes cancerous. So imagine if somebody's living in a constant state of fear, you can see how fast a disease can show up.
Absolutely. Another thing that people do that keeps them trapped in a lower state of vibration is it's their emotional bodies of what they're telling themselves. So their emotions keep them trapped in that perpetual state. And it's really letting go of all those emotions. The emotions truly keep you trapped in this
Yes.
body. And it's being neutral to emotions where you're not triggered by anything,
Yes.
anybody, or anything, when your emotions are just neutral.
So that's a great point. So, that's something which I'm constantly working on for myself also and helping other people. But let's get to that. So let's say we feel like we're doing okay in our life, nothing major happens. And then all of a sudden you're going to go to a function and you get a call from a friend that someone's going to be there who um, backstabbed you so badly a couple of years ago. And then when that person's name comes into your head, all those emotions come back. So it totally throws you out of that feeling of neutrality or comfort, and it throws you right back into fear and anger and resentment and judgment and shame, guilt, everything that goes with it. Once that happens, now you're on a downward spiral if you don't stop it. So when those types of things happen, what is the best way to stop that?
Well, a lot of people don't have the emotional maturity to stop it because they haven't worked on their emotional intelligence. And that really is the key to success in life, not just mental intelligence. Your emotional intelligence, in my opinion, and you probably see this in your practice, is far greater to have than anything else because your emotions are what fuel your entire reality and being.
Correct.
So if you're in a situation where you're spiraling down, the best thing, if you can even recognize it, is just stop that spiral. Like recognize what you're doing and why is this person doing this? Everybody that shows up in our life is showing up to mirror something back to ourselves.
Yes.
So if that person's coming back into your life and there's, hurt and anger and, resentment, well, why are they showing up if you haven't healed those aspects within your being They're showing up to say, listen, you have some work to do in there. Like they're kind of poking you to say, take a look at this. You're not healed. Work on this stuff.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's exactly the answer I was looking for. Is once we can see the reflection of them in ourselves, then we realize why we brought that person back into our life.
Right. And if we can then do that inner work and say, okay, I'm dealing with resentment and anger and frustration and don't like this person. Well, those are parts of me that I don't like. I'm housing all of that within me, which is then creating that reality, because then you're going to find other people that keep showing up doing the same thing to you.
Correct. That's exactly right. That's just like the people who say, well, I'm moving because I don't like this person. And then they move and their next door neighbor has the same personality as the person they moved away from, because they haven't found it in themselves. They haven't seen the reason why they keep bringing these people into their life.
Exactly. And again, it goes back to what you and I first talked about. To see is to be set free. So we have to recognize, it's really, like you said, sitting down with an inventory in our life, the good, the bad. Why are we not where we want to be? It's taking that time and looking and truly looking. Why am I stuck? Why am I in this perpetual state of unhappiness? Or why is my career not where I want it? Or why don't I have, any of the things in my life that I want, that I dream about? It's because we need to sit there and do that inventory.
Yes, that's exactly right. And to your point, the more that thought gets in, why am I not living the life I want? And then observing other people who have a life that you want, and then keep saying, why am I not living the life that I want? The universe isn't going to answer you in that way. It's going to say, okay, I'll give you more of the life that you don't want, because that's what you're showing me. That's the vibration that is matching it.
And that goes back to the law of attraction.
Yes.
You can think, I want this wonderful life, but internally, your dialogue, your thoughts, your feelings, and emotions internally are counteracting that which you're putting out.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely right. So when we're talking about getting into neutrality, for me in the beginning, it was a lot easier said than done.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it was hard to recognize that I was out of alignment, and I'd be waking up feeling unsettled, or I'd be waking up feeling like there was just something off, or I'd be waking up feeling like there's just more. I just know there's more to life, and I feel like I'm just not living the life that I want to be living. It's that separation. And then once I was able to realize that the power was inside of me, and I was able to stop that thinking of longing, or how come I'm not living the life I want to live? That's an energy of longing for something. I was able to move into neutrality, and then I was able to go within and then go into a state of gratitude. And gratitude is something that got me from the negativity into neutrality to then bring me to the positive.
And you know what? Again, it's all an inside job to do that. And people have to be willing, first of all, to do the inside work.
Yes.
To get the life you want, to get to where you want to be, it's just stopping every day and taking an inventory if your life's not where it wants to be.
Yes. Because let's talk about that real quick. This is a great point, because people, they come into my office asking me these questions. They say, I'm in a horrible relationship, and I've been in 3 horrible relationships back to back to back. What is going on? Is it me? Am I cursed? This and that. I said, no, you're not cursed. So I say, just look at the vibration or the frequency that you're bringing into the relationship. They are, after talking to them, they are in an energy of neediness. They go into a relationship thinking that the person they're with has something that they need that they don't have. So they keep entering into these relationships thinking the person is going to be the one that makes them happy, or the person is going to be the one that brings them joy. Now, that might work in the honeymoon phase of the relationship, but after a couple of months, the other person who has to keep, if it's me that has to keep making the other person feel good about themselves, after a while, it's exhausting.
Yes.
And I'm not going to be able to have the stamina every day to make that person feel happy. And
No.
after a while, I'm going to say, I can't do this anymore. Or vice versa. If I'm the one who needs them to make me feel good about myself, after a while, I'm going to burn them out. It's not their job.
No.
Right? So when it comes from an outside source, that outside source has a short fuse because there's only so many things that the person can do. That's what an addiction is. That's why an addiction is so dangerous. We can be addicted to other people trying to make us feel good about ourselves. We could be addicted to a material object making us feel good. We could buy a car, or you could buy a beach house, or this or that, or go on vacations. Once that initial feeling's over, then they need more. You know, if they need a rush to feel good, then they have to have a bigger rush each time. Or if they have to gamble to have that rush, they have to gamble more. Or, you know what I'm saying? So it's never satisfied until they realize it has to come from within.
Well, all addictions, you're just numbing yourself from feeling.
Yeah.
You're running away from yourself and using things outside yourself to make you feel better.
Yes.
Whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, relationships, shopping, whatever it is that you're doing to an extreme to take you away from feeling, those things are giving you an outside high that you don't have to face your inner world, your inner reality, why your life isn't where it is. You're looking for things outside yourself, but those things outside yourself are never going to satisfy you.
Correct.
And
exactly
if you're
right.
in a relationship looking for that relationship to fill a void or a need within you, that you need that person eventually will never be able to keep living up to that standard or that level that you need to feel worthy, to feel loved, to feel that they're satisfied. They'll become resentful over time.
Correct.
And if you are complete within, if you've done your inner work and you're whole and you're complete, then you're not going to need anybody or anything outside yourself to fill a void. You're enough. That's the bottom line is most people don't think they're enough.
Absolutely. So, let's give our listeners a good tool to be able to use to help them start on this path. If they realize after listening to this that they're in a bad relationship, or they're in a bad job, or they feel stuck, or they feel like they just can't get their life going, what's one thing you'd want to say to them? The first thing.
The first thing is just to recognize if your life isn't on the path that you want, or you don't have the things that you want, sit there and do an inventory. Take a really good hard look at yourself and write down why. Why are you in this place in your life? Why are you not where you want to be? And then get really clear on that, why you're not. And, you know, I have another saying that I've always used in my life. If I'm around very toxic people or toxic environments, I put what I call my cosmic condom on. So I kind of just put this around me so nobody can penetrate my inner world and affect me. And,
Yes.
and people too many times, if they are around toxic people, allow them to affect them and get inside. And that, again, is going back to the neutral place. Your cosmic condom is your neutral place where nobody can penetrate you or get inside and affect you.
Absolutely. You know, and within that realm, you know, we have a sacred, within us, we have a sacred self, and no one else should be in our sacred self. And a lot of times when I'm working on people, their children are in there, or their spouses, or people they work with. What it means is those are the people that are creating stress in their life, and they're robbing energy from them. They're literally lowering their vibration. So, like you were saying, I teach them to push out those negative vibrations, so that there's nothing in their sacred self except them. Even the ones closest to us, they can drain us. So it's about always taking inventory on your sacred self.
Yes. And if they're in a toxic relationship and they realize it's toxic, then make that choice to just get out.
Yes.
Love yourself enough to get out of that.
Yes. That's the key. Love yourself enough and don't be afraid, because the universe will always support you.
Yes.
But it can't do it for you. That the doing part is the reason why we're here on the physical realm. We have to physically do it.
Yes.
Like, once we make that first step, the universe will always support you.
I can say I am a living testament of that. Make that first step, and the universe does support you.
Absolutely.
And the people, whoever just shows up, because you're changing that vibration that kept you trapped, moving into a higher vibration, where then it allows the universe to bring those people, those whatever situation that you need in your life. It's cutting the ties of the old to open up to the new.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was great. So this was an awesome podcast. Is there any last words of wisdom?
I think the last words of wisdom for everybody is there is no magic pill to get you where you want to be in life. It's just really taking a good hard look at yourself, taking the blinders off.
Yes.
And just saying, this is my life, this is where it is, and I will do the work, and I'll recognize why I'm in the state I'm in, and just take the necessary steps.
Which, to your point, then makes you the magic bullet.
Yes.
It makes you the magic pill. You're the magic pill.
Yes.
You're the magic. Yes.
You are it for your life. You are your reality. You are your existence. You are what's created everything based on your state of consciousness, your emotions, and what you're putting out, because it's mirrored back to you through life circumstances and people.
I love it. Well, this was awesome.
All right. Well, Thank you, Matt, for being here. And the listeners, thank you for joining in. And I hope this is helpful on how to raise your vibration. And it's through just recognizing your life, where your life is at, and doing a hard inventory.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to do this with you.
Yes,
I look forward
you
to the
too.
next one.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you for joining Healing Through Love, and please stay tuned for future shows. And join us as we spread the power of love.